What if I told you that the most dangerous weapon a parent ever wields isn't their hand, it's their voice? Think back. Can you hear it? That one sentence someone said to you when you were small. So small that you didn't even have words to defend yourself? Maybe it was about your body. Maybe it was about your worth. Maybe it was the silence after they said they wished you were never born at all. You grew up. You got taller. You got older. But somewhere inside, that child is still listening. In 2008, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services released a report that barely made headlines. But it should have stopped the nation cold. Over 50,000 children officially documented as victims of emotional abuse. And here's what the researchers couldn't put in a spreadsheet. Every single one of those children is now an adult, still carrying the architecture of those wounds. Welcome to the Unseen Mind. I'm your host, and today, we're going to talk about the words that built you or broke you. Psychologists call it childhood emotional neglect, a term coined by Dr. John Iceweb. But what we're discussing today goes even deeper. We're talking about verbal abuse trauma, the systematic dismantling of a child's self-concept through language. Here's the neuroscience. When a child hears toxic words, their brain doesn't just process language. The amygdala, the fear center, fires. Cortisol floods the system. And because a child's prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until their mid-20s, they cannot rationalize what they're hearing. They can only absorb it. The child doesn't think, "Mom is stressed." The child thinks, "I am wrong. This isn't opinion. This is developmental psychology." And in Western therapeutic communities, we're only now beginning to understand how linguistic trauma rewires attachment patterns, self-esteem, and even the capacity to love. So what are these 8 words? Or rather, these 8 categories of verbal destruction? Number 8. You're too fat. You're too skinny. You're ugly. Seems harmless to some. Just parenting, right? Just tough love? Here's the data. The National Eating Disorders Association reports that 65% of people with eating disorders say their condition originated in comments made by family members before age 12. Not peers. Not social media. Family. When a parent attacks a child's appearance, they aren't commenting on biology. They're attacking the child's primary interface with the world. The body becomes enemy territory, and that child will spend decades, sometimes a lifetime, trying to escape a prison that was built with words. The root cause? Often the parent's own internalized body shame projected outward. It's not about the child. But the child doesn't know that. The child only knows, "I am not safe in my own skin." Number 7. Why do you walk like that? Why do you chew so weird? This is what psychologists call hyper-vigilance induction. The child becomes so aware of their own natural movements that they develop a persecutory self-consciousness. Because here's what most people miss. Children are neurobiologically programmed to trust parental input as survival data. When mom or dad mocks how they walk, the child's brain doesn't file it under criticism. It files it under dangerous behavior, must eliminate to maintain attachment. The result? A lifetime of masking, of rehearsing movements before entering rooms, of never feeling genuine, of believing at a cellular level that your natural self is fundamentally flawed. Sound familiar? Number 6. I wish you were never born. I regret having you. This is called existential negation, and it's the psychological equivalent of removing the floor from beneath a child. When a parent expresses regret at a child's existence, they aren't just being cruel. They are attacking the child's ontological security, their basic right to take up space in the universe. The child internalizes, "My existence is a mistake. Therefore, my suffering doesn't matter. Therefore, I don't matter." Research from the American Psychological Association links this specific form of verbal abuse to early-onset depression, self-harm ideation, and attachment disorders that persist into every future relationship. The brain, trying to make sense of the unspeakable, concludes, "If my own creator doesn't want me, no one ever will." Number 5. You cost too much. Taking care of you is exhausting. This creates what researchers call burden consciousness, a pervasive belief that your needs are inherently illegitimate. The child learns to preemptively abandon themselves. Hungry? Don't ask. Hurt? Don't show it. Need love? Hide it deeper. Because needs, they've learned, trigger anger. Needs make them too much. Nemours Children's Health notes that children who internalize burden narratives often develop compensatory behaviors, stealing to meet needs secretly, or replicating the abuse pattern in future relationships. Hurt people don't just hurt people. Hurt people raise people who don't know they're allowed to need. Number 4. Why can't you be like your sister? Other kids are better. This isn't motivation. This is identity fragmentation. When parents compare siblings, they aren't fostering competition. They're destroying secure differentiation, the child's ability to develop a self-concept independent from others. The compared child doesn't strive to improve. They strive to cease being themselves. They become a performance, an approximation of someone else, forever chasing a standard that moves because it was never meant for them. And between siblings, this breeds what family systems theorists call sibling trauma, jealousy, resentment, and fractured bonds that can last lifetimes. The research is clear. Chronically compared children show lower self-esteem, higher anxiety, and weaker sibling relationships well into adulthood. Number 3. You're stupid. You're useless. You'll never make it. These are identity statements, not behavior corrections. And the child's brain, remember, still forming, doesn't distinguish between you did something bad and you are bad. When a parent uses absolute language, you are instead of you did, they are etching a neural groove that the child will run through for decades. Every failure becomes confirmation. Every success feels like a fraud waiting to be exposed. The imposter syndrome that plagues so many high achievers? It often doesn't start in boardrooms. It starts in living rooms with a parent who confused discipline with demolition. Number 2. I'll leave you. I'll put you aside. I'll disappear. This is attachment terrorism. For a child, abandonment isn't just sadness. It's existential terror. Their survival literally depends on the caregiver's presence. So when a parent threatens to leave, the child's autonomic nervous system responds as if facing death because, evolutionarily, that's exactly what it is. The child develops abandonment schema, an unconscious belief that anyone who loves them will eventually leave because of who they are, not what they did, who they are. This manifests in adulthood as anxious attachment, sabotaging relationships before abandonment can occur, or the opposite, keeping everyone at arm's length because closeness equals inevitable pain. They don't fear being alone. They fear being left. And those are very different wounds. Number 1. If you do this, I'll buy you that. Never follows through. This seems minor compared to the others. But here's why it's devastating. Promises are the architecture of trust. When a parent repeatedly breaks promises, they aren't just disappointing a child. They are teaching the child that words have no weight, that hope is dangerous, that people who love you will betray you. The child becomes hyper-vigilant to inconsistency, or conversely, attracted to unreliable people because that's what love feels like. Broken promises don't just break trust in others. They break trust in reality itself. Now, let's talk about you. Maybe you're watching this and thinking, this explains so much. That anxiety that hums beneath your skin? That voice in your head that says you're too much, or not enough, or fundamentally unlovable. That isn't your voice. It's an echo of words spoken when you were too small to filter them out. The 2008 HHS report was just the documented cases. The real number? Millions. Millions of adults walking around with invisible scars, wondering why they flinch at compliments, why they can't accept love, why they sabotage happiness before it can be taken. And here's what should terrify us. These parents weren't monsters. Most were repeating patterns. Most were wounded children themselves, now wielding words they didn't understand were weapons. The cycle doesn't break by accident. It breaks by awareness. And awareness starts right here. So what now? If you see yourself in this, what do you do? Step 1. Name the echo. When that critical inner voice speaks, ask, whose voice is this really? Is it yours? Or is it a recording from 1998, 2003, 2010? Externalize it. Give it a name if you have to. That's not me. That's Dad's fear talking. Step 2. Grieve the parent you needed. This is the hard one. You have to mourn the parent who didn't know better or couldn't do better. Not to excuse them, to free yourself. Grief isn't weakness. It's the demolition of fantasy so reality can finally breathe. Step 3. Reparent the child within. When you feel small, when you feel broken, place your hand on your heart and say, you deserved safety. You deserved love exactly as you were. And I see you now. This isn't woo-woo psychology. This is internal family systems therapy, validated by decades of research. The wounded child lives in your neural architecture, and they need to hear what they never heard. Step 4. Set linguistic boundaries. If toxic family members are still active in your life, you don't owe them access. I don't accept being spoken to that way isn't disrespect. It's self-respect. And if they can't meet that standard, distance isn't punishment. It's preservation. Step 5. Break the cycle forward. If you're a parent or will be, your words are spells. Speak them like they matter, because to a child's brain, they are literal magic. Build them up. Validate their existence. Let them know they are wanted, worthy, and enough. The research is unambiguous. One stable, loving adult can offset an entire childhood of harm. Be that adult for yourself and for the next generation. The unseen mind is built on echoes. But here's what I've learned making these reports. Echoes can be rewritten. You are not the words that were spoken to you when you were small. You are the consciousness that heard them, survived them, and now has the power to choose what comes next. I've compiled the full special report with every source, every study, every citation we discussed today. It's in the description. Read it. Share it with someone who needs to know they're not broken. And if this resonated, if you felt that cold recognition, that this is about me moment, then you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe to The Unseen Mind, not just for more content, for more revelations, because the mind you can't see is the one controlling everything. Remember, the words that built you can be dismantled. One conscious thought at a time, one brave choice at a time, one day at a time. I'm your host, and I'll see you in the unseen. What words built you? Drop them in the comments below. Not to relive the pain, to release it. Let's start the conversation that should have started decades ago. The Unseen Mind. Subscribe. Stay curious. Stay awake.